back. You're watching Mirror Now. The big story that we are tracking on Mirror Now right now is that big relief that has come in from Qatar, where the death sentence of the former Navy officials has been reduced by a Qatari court. The verdict in the Dahra global case in Qatar, remember, had sentenced death for these 8 Navy veterans of India.
Hearings that happened today, the 4th hearing, verdict has come out. The death sentence has been commuted to a reduced sentence, which means death sentence do not stand any further, which means the death sentence will not be executed. Further details in the case are still awaited. A detailed court order is still awaited, but definitely a huge sigh of relief for everyone in India and for the family members of these 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel. The death sentence stands cancelled. This is what we can confirm to our viewers on Times Now.
All right, so there, Rishabh, my colleague, of course, getting us the latest in this case. There's been the first step towards, in fact, the first win diplomatically that India has had in this case. There's been a huge relief for the 8 Navy veterans who've been held in Qatar in an alleged espionage case. This also, remember, comes after India got that consular access to its nationals. My colleague Rishabh is joining us on the broadcast for more on this. Rishabh, a huge relief for not just these.
On 26th October, the first court of justice ordered death sentence, slapped these 8 ex-Indian Navy personnel with death sentence. After that, there was huge uproar. The families started reaching out to the government here as well as embassy in Doha. The External Affairs Ministry, through its embassy, applied for consular access, which was given. The first consular access was given to India on 7th of November. That's when lawyers were fixed. Indian embassy or officials, ambassador himself met
these. My colleague Rishabh, of course, telling us what has happened in this latest verdict by a Qatari court regarding the 8 Navy veterans. I'm also joined on the broadcast by Brigadier Vinod Khanna. Brigadier Khanna, thank you very much for speaking with Mirror Now. Your first thoughts, it's a big relief. Vinod Datta, I beg your pardon, Brigadier Vinod Datta is joining us on the broadcast. Brigadier Datta, your first thoughts on this big relief that has come in for the 8 Navy veterans in Qatar. Big win for India diplomatically in its diplomatic efforts to get this relief.
Yeah, that's a very great achievement on part of the Indian government. And right from the beginning, India was pretty confident that we will be able to find out some via media for these ex-naval officers. And since the geostrategic imperatives were not, very favorable, so India, was treading in a very sure and a steady manner. And the efforts of Ministry of External Affairs has really yielded good results, and they have put on hold on this capital punishment. And I'm sure, the Indian government will take it forward, and these people will be, the verdict is going to be innocent, because it is I think, error of judgment, and there is no error of intent on the part of these officials.
All right, Brigadier Vinod Datta, thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now and sharing your thoughts on this latest sentence that has been reduced for our 8 Navy veterans. As Brigadier Datta said, that the way forward has to be optimistic. It has to be hopeful of the fact that our Navy veterans will be freed soon from Qatar. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni joins us also on the broadcast. General Kulkarni, a huge relief for our veterans there, a big diplomatic victory also for India. Your first thought, what do you think is the way forward now?
Well, definitely, but I would have much wanted all of them to be released totally, because converting it into a jail, I think it was something which could have well been avoided. Because I have always felt that these veterans are absolutely innocent, and the intent was absolutely pure. There's nothing in the intent that can be proven. And we have excellent relations with the government of Qatar. And I'm quite confident that, well, actually the first step has been taken, from being hanged. I think at least that they have done is converted into, I understand, into a life imprisonment, which, also should be, I think it is worth reconsidering, and all of them must be sent home. But that is because I know for very sure that all of our victims, the intent was absolutely pure. There's nothing that one can say that they had anything wrong. And therefore, if the interpretation or maybe the understanding may have gone wrong, but I would still believe that a total release is what I would like for my veterans. Yeah.
All right, General Kulkarni, thank you very much. Of course, the entire country hopes that the men will be freed soon. But of course, this seems to be a first step towards India's diplomatic efforts and its victory in at least reduction in that sentence. I'm also joined by Brigadier Anil Gupta on the broadcast. Brigadier Gupta, thank you very much for speaking with Mirror Now. This seems to be a long road for India diplomatically, but at least it is the first step towards a diplomatic victory that we hope for our 8 Navy veterans.
Thanks a lot. And I think it's a great day for India. It's a great diplomatic victory for India, and slap on face of those who have been challenging the present government and its foreign policy, especially in relation with Qatar. The effort put in by our foreign minister and the foreign office has not gone in vain. And it's very heartening to note that at least the death sentence has been called off and it's now been turned into imprisonment. And as you are saying, and other speakers also saying, I'm also very confident that with the efforts of the government of India and the understanding by the government of Qatar, it will be converted, they will be freed. Because as my predecessor, General Kulkarni, was saying, they have committed no crime at all. They were working, and they were working for the betterment of Qatar. I think the government of Qatar will soon understand that.
All right, Brigadier Anil Gupta, thank you very much for sharing your perspective on Mirror Now. I'm joined by my colleague Srinjoy as well on the broadcast. Srinjoy, the general sentiment, of course, is that it's a huge relief for our 8 Navy veterans, but also simultaneously we know that this is a long road ahead when we have to fight that battle diplomatically and legally in Qatar, also bringing into the forefront the India-Qatar relationship.
Well, first of all, as you rightly said, it is a relief, but it's also a first step. It is a first step because there is still some distance to go. At this point, the entire judgment is not known to the Indian government. All we know is that there's not going to be a death sentence. So now the point is, how long is this period of incarceration going to be? Because they've already been in jail for over a year. That's the first thing. The second is, when is this all going to end? In the sense that India believes that these people are innocent and they should be freed. Well, at this point, then, India and Qatar will have to get together. India will have to speak with the Qatari officials and ensure that this is sorted out. Well, yes, there will be no death sentence, and that's a very important first step. But it's only a first step. There are many more steps that have to be taken. Many more steps have to be taken to ensure that these people are freed. These are 8 naval veterans who were working in Qatar, and it's very important that they are eventually freed. Now, India and Qatar have to discuss this. India has to take up the issue with the authorities in Qatar, with the judicial authorities if necessary, and find a final solution. Yes, it's very important that there will be no death sentence. You start from there. That's not where you end, but that's where you begin. And now that there is no death sentence, it's important to free all these 8 people and find a way to do it. Now, when this happens, how this happens will depend on 2 things. One is, of course, the judgment. Now, when is this judgment going to come? It's probably going to happen in a few hours. And then, of course, the 2 countries will have to get together. India will have to get together with the Qataris and find a solution. Because Qatar is a friendly country. India and Qatar have good relations, and we have to make use of that.
All right, Srinjoy, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. I'm also joined by Pathikrit Pain, strategic affairs expert on the broadcast. Pathikrit, a big relief for India there, but as Srinjoy, my colleague, was talking about the fact that this is only a first step. This is a long road ahead, which also reflects the fact that, India and Qatar have shared that equation where they can give this sort of relief in such alleged espionage cases.
Well, first of all, it is indeed a matter of major relief for the whole country that the death sentence has been commuted. But, let me tell you, first of all, these 8 veterans have been victims of a complex geopolitical game going on in the Middle East. And there is a Pakistani hand behind their entrapment in the whole issue. They had simply gone to Italy, most probably in an organization called defense company called Fincantieri, for doing an evaluation of a submarine which Qatar was supposed to buy. They had nothing to do with anything else. But nevertheless, right now, as was stated by your colleague, that it is merely the first step. I think the next step by government of India would be to ensure that even if it's a reduced sentence, even that gets commuted. If not, there is a reciprocal arrangement between India and Qatar, wherein anybody having convicted or sentenced in Qatar can serve the jail term in India and vice versa. So most probably the next objective of government of India would be to ensure that these 8 veterans, even if they have to serve a jail term, which I hope they would not be, but even if it is to be done, then they would be allowed to come to India and serve the jail term. And that would be the great thing, because once you are inside India, then it's a different matter altogether. I think that is the most important thing. But let me again tell you, there are other elements.
But Pathikrit, do we have that arrangement with Qatar? Do India and Qatar?
Yes, we do have an arrangement.
Do India and Qatar have that sort of arrangement? Okay.
Yes, we do have that kind of an arrangement where there is an exchange of people having been sentenced can be done. And let me also reiterate one important issue here, wherein the Prime Minister of India has extremely cordial relation with the Crown Prince and the royal family of Qatar. So invariably, eventually, as things stand, as and when required, he might give a call to the royal family, and maybe he had already given a call, because of which this decision has been taken. Secondly, the kind of geopolitical leverage even a country like India has, Qatar will not, beyond the point, try to create any kind of situation which will tremendously jeopardize their relationship. But yes, as I stated, it's a matter of a complex geopolitical game. There are certain elements, perhaps, within Qatar also, who wanted to, do certain things which will create a problem for India. But I think they have tried to bite more than they can chew. And as I stated, there is most possibly a reciprocal arrangement under which they can serve their jail sentence in India just in case their sentences are not reduced any further and remains, as a life term or whatever. But I'm sure the government of India will do 2 things. Number one, will try to reduce it and actually get them exonerated, because they were merely employees of an organization which was registered under the name of a squadron leader, a former squadron leader in Oman. So they were merely working as employees, as consultants. And secondly, even if that could not be done, most probably they'll be asked, or efforts will be made so that they can serve the sentence in India. If you remember, there was a case like this with the Marines a few years back. They were allowed to go back to Italy to serve the rest of the jail term. So most of the countries with whom we have good relations generally have that reciprocal arrangement. I think that will be exercised in case any further commutation is not done. But as your colleague also rightly mentioned, it is merely the first step. I think the ultimate objective, would be to make sure that they are acquitted with honor. Remember, for any veteran, it is the honor that is more important than anything else. And what has been hurt here is the honor. So I think government of India, a lot of kudos to the government of India for the diplomatic initiative. And I think they would try their best to ensure that their honor is restored and not just commutation of the death sentence. Back to you.
All right, Pathikrit Pain, thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now and helping us understand the situation a bit better. As Pathikrit said, that we'll have to wait and watch how this case moves forward. We'll also have to wait and watch what the quantum of punishment is now after it has been reduced from the death sentence. It has been reduced to jail term. That's what we are hearing. But the actual document, the actual verdict will come hopefully out in a few hours, and we'll tell you the details of that. Also, Pathikrit said that the next step, of course, that the government of India should be looking at is that whether there is a reciprocal arrangement of if this jail term is not converted to no sentence at all and the men are freed, they can serve that quantum of punishment here in India instead of serving it in Qatari jails. We'll keep a close eye on that, and we'll keep getting you the latest on this big breaking news that has come in from Qatar. But right now, let's also get